County Line, we give you an update on the Jordan Brown case. See where Jordan is now.
A new police officer is on the way for the borough of New Wilmington. We talk to the mayor.
And we hear from the Titans softball team as they get ready for their yearly trip to Florida. We're live.
We're local.
The County Line starts now.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the County Line. I'm Nikki Pizar.
And I'm Amanda Conway. Police issued a warrant for the arrest of August Santillo's wife this morning. Kimberly Santillo was accused of stealing more than $300,000 from St. Vitus Church.
She now faces theft and conspiracy charges. The woman worked as the volunteers coordinator at the church.
Lawrence County District Attorney John Bongivengo says the Santillos took advantage of the church.
To the community, it's devastating to the church. People donated money for the welfare of the church and their charitable organizations that they have, and how they notice. This is something. The church in of itself is trusting of people, and they volunteered, and his wife worked part-time, and took advantage of the situation. Took advantage of everybody that's donated, and now it unfortunately makes the church look bad, although there's not too much you can do about it, except for when they did everything they could once it was brought to their attention.
Right.
It's tough on the community. I really hope it doesn't affect the typical donations that people are going to give, and we still have faith in the church. It's a big Catholic.
Kimberly Santillo's husband, August, was arrested back in January. He is out on $50,000 bond awaiting his preliminary hearing.
This week, many local Christians are celebrating the first full week of Lent. The season of Lent began last Wednesday, and part of the Lenten tradition centers around giving up something for the 40-day period. County Line reporter Scott Lawrence explains why sacrifice is so important during this season.
For the next 32 days, sophomore Kristen Punjatori is putting away her coffee creamer. Punjatori is shelving her caffeine dependence in honor of this year's Lenten season.
I found that I am too dependent on coffee before classes and in the evenings. I drink about 4 cups of coffee during the day, usually just in the morning, so staying awake in class has been a challenge for me this past week.
According to Reverend Philip Farrell, Punjatori's Lenten sacrifice is part of a long tradition of religious preparation.
The idea of giving up is not necessarily to see if you can run an endurance race. That's not what it's about at all. It's really about saying, okay, is there something that is in my way of being able to focus on Christ? So let's take some things off and remove some things to help me focus a little bit more on the Lord and on what the purpose of Easter is all about.
Another long-standing tradition is the sacrifice of meat on Fridays. Reverend Farrell says this tradition draws its meaning from meat's once luxurious status.
Meat was something that was rare in your diets. And so, they said, okay, fine. This is not a day you want to specialize on those highfalutin type of thing. And, it was traditional also to substitute that with fish, which today the fish is probably more expensive than meat. So we have to really look at the spirit of what we're doing. That's really what.
But despite this modern-day difference, shortstop inn owner Carol Short says she's happy to carry out the Friday fish tradition.
Yes, Friday's a busy night here. We get pretty filled up. We sell a lot of the deep-fried cod and the baked cod and the giant fish cod sandwich. Cod is excellent, a mild fish. They get their money's worth, believe me.
And after seeing my own dish, this is one Lenten tradition I'm happy not to give up. I'm Scott Lawrence reporting for the County Line.
The 11-year-old boy accused of murdering his father's pregnant fiancée is now at a juvenile detention center in Erie. State police say Jordan Brown of Wampum shot and killed 26-year-old Kenzie Hauk on February 20th. Hauk was nearly 9 months pregnant. Brown was originally placed in the Lawrence County Jail, then the boy was moved to the Allencrest Juvenile Detention Center in Beaver County. However, county leaders were concerned about the high cost to Allencrest. about $4,500 a week. Brown remains at the Edmund L. Thomas Detention Center in Erie. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for March 24th.
A Newcastle woman is suing 2 local health agencies, Challenges Options in Aging and Elwood City Hospital, for the death of her mother. Linda Abraham says healthcare aides lied about her ability to care for her mother, who was later put into a nursing home. 91-year-old Adele Abraham died in March of 2007 at the Overlook Medical Clinic in New Wilmington. Linda Abraham's attorney says the agencies essentially kidnapped her mother based on the false claims.
The borough of New Wilmington may soon see a new police officer on their streets. Mayor Wendell Wagner got the okay at Monday's borough meeting to hire for the position. Officials are now conducting an interview process. Wagner explains why the borough needs another police officer on staff.
At present time, we have 3 full-time patrolmen, chief of police, and then a part-timer. And we run a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service. And you can't do that with 3 full-time people that are out there. Three shifts a day, 7 days a week doesn't work out. And so we're putting on a 5th man now. That'll be in the total police department. And that will allow the 4 people then, the 4 full-time patrolmen, to spread the shifts out. And then it brings the chief, he's carrying a shift right now to fill in. So I'm bringing him back into the office. I want him back in the office and getting a lot of the paperwork and reports and stuff done that we're slacking on right now.
Manholes in the borough of New Wilmington may be getting a facelift. The Borough Council received a bid Monday to replace the outdated manholes with ones that won't leak and have safer stairs. The borough still needs to grant permission to the company for the $71,000 project.
The Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity is asking teens to sign up for its largest philanthropy event, the Relay for Life. Organizers held a campus kickoff party last week. The fundraiser brings the campus and the local community together to celebrate survivors, honor loved ones, and raise money to support the American Cancer Society. This year's relay is set for Saturday, April 4th. Car dealer Wagner Motors is looking to undergo some changes. Stay tuned to see what's in store for the local business.
And Westminster College is breaking application records again. In this week's County Close-Up, Dean of Admissions Brad Tokar talks about what made it happen.
And go on a trip with Ryan Hitchcock to the Pottery Dome in Mercer for this week's On the Road.
We're playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. So if a gorgeous force is what you decide, don't play with matches, don't play with fire. Yeah.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Fire.
The Westminster chapter of Habitat for Humanity will observe its 20th anniversary by sending 65 volunteers to Biloxi, Mississippi for spring break. The County Line's Kylie Bennett talks with college chaplain Jim Moore about what these students will do during their trip.
The trip that's scheduled for this year during spring break, March 15th through the 22nd, actually is a combined chapel office Habitat for Humanity trip. Each year during the spring break season, we try to create an alternative spring break experience. This year's trip, we decided to merge in celebration of the 25th anniversary of Habitat for Humanity. Going to be on a bus 17 hours. Going down, we're spending the night in Nashville, Tennessee at Second Presbyterian Church. And then go on down, we're staying in a Habitat village, or a volunteer village called Camp Victor, which houses over 200 volunteers. And so our group will be there with volunteers from all over the country. Even though we may know everyone's name, we don't know each other. So there'll be a lot of new friendships and bonding experiences happening as we spend time together. And then coming back to New Wilmington, we come back leaving Saturday night at 6 o'clock, and we're driving straight through so that we're back in time for students to get a little bit of rest before they start classes on Monday. So it's going to just be a crazy time. Funding comes from a variety of sources because it's not inexpensive. So funding happens through money that the group has raised through a couple money-making projects. There was a Chris Higbee project concerts. We had students write letters to church members and family members back home, and that allowed them to have quite a bit of income. We charge students $50 to go on the trip, which is not very much to go on a spring break experience. And then we've had sources where churches give the college money, give the chapel office money to do things like this, and we kind of put it all together into a pot, and we're right where we need to be. It's a great experience for students. I encourage every student while they're at Westminster College to do something where they give away of their time during a spring break. Just do something significant to make a difference.
New Wilmington business Wagner Motors is changing hands. The formerly family-owned business is now under ownership of Jeff Huey of Hermitage. The business was founded in 1945 by Claire Wagner. Former owners Lee and Gary Wagner are staying on as employees. The name of the business will be changed sometime early next month.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Close-Up. I'm here with Dean of Admissions, Brad Tokar. Brad, thank you for being with us this week.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
We're talking about applications and how prospective students will be applying as of right now for the upcoming school year. Brett, how are applications coming along in the admissions department this year so far?
Applications are really good. They are up significantly, about a 35% increase over last year. If you go back 2 years ago, our applications have increased 200%. And that's a function of a lot of things. First of all, students are applying to more schools nowadays with the online applications. But we've expanded our name searches, we've expanded our travel, the admissions staff has worked very hard. The campus itself, we get support from faculty, staff, coaches. The communications department has worked really well with us as far as marketing the college too.
How do you feel Westminster is comparing to other local schools of our size as far as applications go?
It's hard to say exactly because I'm not sure where all of the other schools are. Schools that we cross apps with the most would be Allegheny and W&J. And I would say we're similar, maybe slightly ahead of them, but I don't know that for sure. I'm not sure where they are this year.
What do you feel, or do you feel that Westminster is being set apart in any way from maybe those schools or Grove City or any other schools that are kind of dotted up along the 79 corridor in terms of, you know, you said the admissions, they're going around a lot more to different places. Are there any other things that you feel are setting Westminster apart from maybe some other schools?
Well, I think that Westminster has a very good reputation, as do the other schools.
Right.
But we have a good reputation, and I think the students that come here have good experiences. Our alumni always refer students to us. So that's something that certainly is in our favor. I think the fact that we have such a high placement rate. Our graduates get into graduate schools, get jobs, and that's something that we like to share with prospective students. We try to be competitive with our scholarships, our merit awards. So those are all things that we do try to market, and hopefully they give us an advantage or separate Westminster.
Looking to the economy right now, which is obviously a really touchy subject,
Yes.
and we're in a bit of a crisis right now. The applications seem to be coming in at a rapid rate, as you said. But do you find as students and our prospective students and their parents come to visit, do you find that they're asking more questions regarding financial aid or tuition assistance or merit-based scholarships because of the economy?
Yeah, no question. That's a big issue this year, as it is every year, but I think even more so with the economy. And that's why we all in the admissions office have worked very hard, and we're happy with where our numbers are, but we're really wondering to see where it's going to end up, what our yield rate is going to be. I think that maybe not as many students will be able to afford to come to Westminster or to be able to afford private schools.
Right.
So that is an unknown at this time, and it is a concern in our office. But that's definitely something that prospective families are curious about.
With them being concerned about this, and you just said admissions is a little concerned.
Yes.
I interviewed President Dorman last week, and he said that the college is financially stable for this year, but in future years, maybe not so much. They don't really know. There's a lot of question there. Do you look, even though there's a huge spike right now in applications, that there might be a drop-off in years to come, whether the economy fluctuates one way or another?
That's kind of a wait and see.
Yeah.
But President Dorman is correct. Westminster is financially sound.
Right.
And I think our scholarships and our awards are competitive with other institutions. So we would certainly hope that we'll continue our efforts, and the efforts of the entire campus community, as I said, have been so important that won't happen, that our numbers will continue to be strong.
Jumping on to another topic, Westminster is now participating in the Yellow Ribbon Program, which provides veterans with free tuition to pursue a degree. Could you explain a little bit more about that program? It's very new and upcoming here at Westminster, just announced a few days ago.
It's a new program, and Westminster has always honored the veterans, people that have served our country. And what this program does is veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan post 9/11, they have an opportunity to get government assistance, and Westminster will also contribute to that. And they do get a good education, I think, for price breaks, and it just kind of honors their service to our country.
Quickly, back on to the prospective students. They're boasting a high school GPA of 3.5 and an average 1100 on the SATs.
Yes.
These are far and above very high numbers for prospective students among America's colleges and universities. To what do you credit that to, them being a little bit higher?
I think part of it would be the merit scholarships. They attract the better students, and I know as an admissions staff, we work very hard to uphold the standards of Westminster. Those averages of a 3.5 and 1100 are very similar to what our averages have been over the years, and that's something that we work hard to maintain.
Great. We've been talking with Brad Tokar, Dean of Admissions here at Westminster College. Brad, thank you for being with us this week. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Stay tuned. More County Line is on the way.
Come on, boy. Come on. What do you got there, Yogi? Huh? What have you found? What do you got, little fella? Drop it. Looks like someone's butt. Man, they probably lost it playing with their kids. Hey, leave it. Come on. Come on.
For this week's On the Road, County Line reporter Ryan Hitchcock takes us to the Pottery Dome in Mercer.
The Pottery Dome has been around for nearly 15 years.
Ryan not only shows us the beautiful artwork, but the man who is behind the making of the pottery.
As you can see behind me, there's two large domes, and we're actually on the road at the Pottery Dome. Let's go on inside and take a look. While at the Pottery Dome, I got a chance to not only see beautiful pieces of artwork, but I also got a chance to talk to owner and artist herself, Lois Hamilton. Lois showed me many pieces of pottery ranging from small to large, but the Pottery Dome wouldn't exist at all if it weren't for one man, and that man is Bob Eisenberg. Bob has been working here for nearly 15 years, and although it may look difficult for you and I, it's a piece of cake for Bob.
You just kind of have to get the basic steps down, the centering and opening and getting the feel of the clay, and it's just going it over and over again and messing it up and learning from your mistakes and coming back and trying it again.
The Pottery Dome has actually been around for 15 years, and owner Lois has been enjoying every minute of it.
So it's very light and it's very pleasant here. and with the big window over there, we get to see the weather and those. So it's been an enjoyable building in which to work.
Well, if you're ever in the Mercer area, be sure to check out the Pottery Dome, where you can not only find things for your home, such as cups and mugs, but other intricate pieces of artwork, such as this pot. For the County Line and On the Road, I'm Ryan Hitchcock.
Good evening, sports fans. I'm Matt Ogden, and welcome to an all-new Titantown Sports, which promises to come in like a lion and out like a lamb. Although neither the men's or women's basketball teams advanced to the finals of the PAC tournament, some individuals were honored for their hard work this past season. From the men's team, senior guard Bob Glass returned to the team after taking last season off and was given an honorable mention for his play this season. Glass started 22 of 27 games and averaged just over 10 points per game. Fellow teammate Ryan Murray set the PAC on fire, was named in the first team All-PAC, and was also voted most valuable player in the PAC. The 6'4" junior forward averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds per game, helping lead the Titans to their semifinal loss to Bethany College. Murray is the first player to earn first team All-PAC since Greg Rossitelli in 2007. As for the women's team, they also had two players recognized for their outstanding play this past season. Junior guard Amy Dolzak and senior guard Gina Bernetti were both given honorable mention for helping lead the Titans to a 7th seed in the PAC tournament. Bernetti averaged just under 12 points per game, while Dolzak ranked in the top 10 in PAC in points with 13 points per game, and rebounds as she averaged 8 rebounds per game. Congratulations to these athletes and their teammates on great seasons. This week's SAC athlete, for the second time in a month, we recognize Ryan Murray for his outstanding play this season as being named PAC Player of the Year. Congratulations, Ryan. In other sports news, the baseball team will have 2 doubleheaders this weekend in preparation for the upcoming spring break tournament in Florida. The team will get their first taste of spring-like weather as they travel to Virginia to take on Southern Virginia on Saturday and Washington and Lee on Sunday. While they have been sharing time on both the gym and a new turf field alongside the baseball team, the Titans softball team has spent the better part of a month practicing and getting prepared for their trip to Florida for a spring break tournament as well. Every year, the Westminster women's softball team travels to Florida for their annual spring break preseason tournament in preparation for the upcoming season. The trip is good practice just days before the season begins. Junior outfielder and first baseman Jen Emery talks about how the games help set a catalyst for the expectations for the players this season.
It kind of counts for our season, but it doesn't count as much as our regular season, so it's not really as important. It's just a way to see how everybody's playing and see what people's strengths are on the field and batting.
Coach Jan Runiger takes a different look at the tournament based on the NCAA rules and the regional games played by the Beaches, as a quarter of their overall record will be won or lost in Florida.
NCAA allows us to play 40 games in a season, and we get 10 of them in Florida. So Florida is no longer used as a training trip, getting you prepared for your season. Those 10 games count towards your record. The regional games, they go into your rankings. So really, as soon as you head south, that's when your season starts, and you're evaluated from day one down there. So that's what we're doing. We're getting ready for that.
Westminster softball team's trip to Florida is merely the beginning of a long stretch of games for the Lady Titans.
Once we get down south, the season goes like boom. As soon as we get back, we're right back into games.
We leave March 14th, and we go down there for a week, and then we come back, and I think we have two days, and then we play. So I think it's March 25th is, I think, our first game.
Any wins chalked up in sunny Florida can be contributed to the team's good work ethic thus far this offseason. The Newcastle girls basketball team is kicking off the first round of the WPIAL Class AAA playoffs in their pursuit for Penn State. The Women Hurricanes ended their season at 24-2 and is set to take on the Franklin Knights at North Allegheny High School this Saturday afternoon at 3. Taking a look at the local professional teams in action, the spring-like weather this afternoon is a reminder that baseball season is right around the corner. The Pittsburgh Pirates look for some fierce Grapefruit League action as they take on the defending American League champions Tampa Bay Rays tomorrow and look to improve their record to 7-1. Game time is set for 1:05. Cleveland Indians are in action as well tomorrow afternoon as they take on the National League Central contender Milwaukee Brewers. Game time is set for 2:05. And finally, the Pittsburgh Penguins look to continue their push to the playoffs and keep a firm grip on the final seed in the Eastern Conference playoff race and welcome newly acquired Billy Guerin and Sidney Crosby back to the lineup since injuring his groin last week. The Penguins are taking on the 9th-seeded Florida Panthers right now as I speak. Well, that does it for this week's edition of Titantown Sports. Stay classy, Lawrence and Mercer County, and there's more County Line on the way.
Can I help you, sir?
I found these over by the stairs.
Okay, thank you.
What are they?
Love handles. Lots of people lose them taking the stairs instead of the escalator.
Remember, if there's ever an emergency, we meet here at the bottom of the driveway.
And I'll get the emergency disaster kit out of the kitchen.
Once we're all together, then we'll decide what to do.
But what about Fido?
What about Fido? The Lawrence County Humane Society reminds you to include your pets in your disaster planning. Make sure that your pets have identification tags that include your phone number. To find out more about how to protect your pets in a disaster, contact the Lawrence County Humane Society.
You don't have to head to a big city to see an all-star dance production. You can see it right here in small-town New Wilmington. The Westminster Dance Theater showcases anything from tap to hip-hop to Irish dancing and even a kick line. County Line reporter Amy Gerber gives us a sneak peek.
From a dark stage to this. Or this. Dance theater at Westminster brings a different and new feel to it every year. But there is a lot more involved with dance theater than just the dances. There are lights and costumes and practice upon practice. The students are the ones who perform and choreograph the dances. That means, as choreographers, the students must not only choose costumes, but also music.
This year was my first year as a choreographer in dance theater, and I decided to do a kick line number because that's my favorite type of dance. And it took me a really long time to find the right song, and I needed something with a strong beat to do kicks to, and something fast, and something that the audience would really get into. So I finally found the song Damage by Danity Kane, and I wanted to pick it up a little bit, so I'm actually using the Global Factory remix, so it has a good bass beat in the back.
While the music is important, the most important are the students who bring the dances to life. Their varied backgrounds make each dance unique. The dancers are not only expressing themselves, but turning dance into an art form.
I think our job as dance theater here at Westminster is to help educate our audience that dance is an art form, and I think we do a great job at that. But I just truly believe that everyone is entertained, and it's so nice to be able to see the support that we have year after year. And I swear that after every show, every year I hear, wow, this is the best show ever. And I hear that often, and I think everyone will say the same after this performance too.
So the hard work pays off. The audience claps, and once again the stage turns dark and awaits for the next performance.
The production starts tonight in just a few minutes at 8 o'clock. Performances are also set for Friday at 8 p.m. and Saturday at 2 p.m.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of the County Line.
Be sure to tune in next Thursday for our last show before spring break.
Good night.
Good night.